What is up? Welcome back to the Make or Break Shop. This week we're going to be working on some miniature furniture to go inside of this dollhouse. So we got this dollhouse as a hand-me-down from a friend, and we're in the process of putting a new roof on it, repainting it, and doing all that. But we really wanted to add some furniture onto it as well. And at first, I was just gonna go in and cut out some pieces of wood, real easy, glue them together. There's a lot of really great tutorials online on how to do that. But I actually wanted to see what it'd be like to design this furniture at full scale it down, and then actually cut it out with the laser cutter. So that's actually the process that we are doing with lots of these pieces. And you might be like, that's great, but I don't have a laser cutter. You could totally do this without one. You could just cut these pieces out with an X-Acto knife. But in my case, I used a laser because it was quicker and more exact. But the first step was actually to jump into Fusion 360. We won't go into a full tutorial on how to design this stuff. I actually did one here recently of an end table if you want to check that out. But specifically, we're talking about this chair, but how we actually made these flat pack designs to where we could cut all of this stuff out and then glue it together. So jumping into Fusion 360, you can see this is the model that I've got, and I actually have this scaled all the way up. So we won't get deep into it, but you can see with my parameters, I have everything being scaled by a scale factor. So I actually built this at a real size and then scaled it down by 12. And then my material thickness is 0.112, which is like about 1/8 of an inch as the plywood that I'm using. And the general process is you want to create a new component, and this is going to be the stock that this thing is going to be cut out of. We're gonna do a sketch for that component. So then what we want to do is treat this like flat pack furniture. We want to take all the different shapes, flip them, face them straight down so we can cut out the profiles. You could do this manually with moving, but as it turns out, there's actually a script in Fusion as well that gets you almost all the way. If you click over to Tools, and I'll include a link below, but there's a script called Nester, which is a basic nesting script. This is like an add-in that you can bring into Fusion. You can select the base face, which is this guy. And then these are going to be all of the actual faces that you want. So you don't want to select this because you actually want to cut out the full shape. So you're going to do this guy, you're going to do this guy, you're going to do this and this. So it's just 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces actually to put this together. And then the edge, I guess, is going to be this. And this is the part that doesn't really work. I'm just gonna bring them in, that's great. The only problem is it doesn't lock it into shape. So if I actually wanna try and move one of these, let me ground this. So you can see that it brings them all back into the middle. Even if you do capture position, it still doesn't work, but it's not super hard. All right, to make this easier, I'm gonna first ground the stock and then not make it selectable. So then all I gotta do is I can just drag and move these into the spots to actually cut out. The next step is going to be to create an actual sketch with these profiles on it. So actually in Fusion 360, sketches you can export out as a DXF. So we're gonna make a master sketch that has all the profiles for the pieces that we want, then we can export that out. So looking back at the nest, that was the whole reason that we actually did that. So we're gonna do another sketch. I'm just gonna call this profiles. And to do that, we're gonna use the good P4 project, which is gonna steal all of those dimensions. You hit OK, finish sketch. Then you can just hit save as a DXF. And then if you're jumping into your laser software, in my case, this is Lightburn, we're gonna import that DXF, and there are your profiles. So now that we have all of those made, we are going to send this to the laser, cut everything out, and start gluing this together. So the next step is we're gonna get all of these pieces out. And usually they come out pretty easy. So now the process is we're just going to glue these pieces together just with some CA glue, but we can dry fit it first. kind of get an idea what it's gonna look like. So it's gonna be something kind of like this. Now we're just gonna glue it up. So that is our little tiny chair. So once we had this guy glued together, the next step was to actually turn it into something that looked a little bit more like wood. And in this case, I'm actually using veneers. I got these as like a pack of 30. These are the same things that I'm using to do the roof, which this will be a future video on the dollhouse. But these are actually pieces of wood that are super, super thin if you've never worked with veneers. And then I'm cutting them out on the laser again, and I'm grabbing just the profiles from Fusion 360, just like we did before. What's nice by using the laser, it doesn't split it, which is awesome. If you guys, again, don't have a laser and you don't even want to do the wood veneers, you really could just stain this, or if you don't want it to be wood color, you can just straight up paint it. So now jumping back into Fusion 360, so you can see I've projected that, I've projected that, I've got everything on the back, the legs, the inside, all that kind of stuff. So it takes a little while, but I'm able to get the exact dimensions. So using the back as an example, you can see what's helpful about this is that instead of just pulling this shape, I'm able to get these guys as well. And so I can cut that entire piece as the veneer. Once we have all of those sketches, then I just throw it into a vector editing program so that I can kind of clean these things up. In my case, I am using Adobe Illustrator, but you could use some of the free ones out there to do the same thing. And long story short, all of the veneers is gonna be going on to this guy. So I wanted to figure out if there was a way I could actually nest all of these. And I found this program. It's called Deep Nest IO. And it's pretty simple. You just import your shapes, and then the only special thing you have to do is you just select whatever your sheet is. So it is this guy, this 9x11.2, and we are going to start the nest. You can just let this run for a while until you get one that works the best. And I'm just gonna go ahead and stop this nest. And then I'm gonna export this as I'll do SVG and a DXF. All right, and then jumping into Lightburn, I'm just gonna make sure all of these work. So import, you can see those files are there. So now I can actually take that, import it to the laser, and we are good to go. All right, so now that we've got this done, we have pulled a lot of these pieces already off. And we're slowly going in and adding them to this guy. So I've already done one piece right there. So this is a pretty tedious process, but basically I'm just super gluing these on super slow. So we've got all of the veneer on this guy. And actually looking back on it, something I wish I did was not use super glue, but just use a normal wood glue. You can kind of see it would like discolor a little bit. And what I'm hoping is that when I actually go through and put some oil on this, this won't be as bad. It's pretty easy to finish this thing up. I'm just going to sand over the edges. And also another thing I wish I'd done is made these pieces just a little bit wider because especially when I sand it down, you're starting to see some of the plywood underneath. But for a first go at using veneers on top of these guys, this seems to be working pretty well. All right, so we are going to be putting just some shellac on it. And I've actually already done one coat, but it actually dries really quick. So I can put some more on here fairly quickly. So in addition to the chair, we're also going to be working on a dresser, and I just cut out a ton of the dresser drawers, and we are going to pop all these out, glue them together, and put them into the dresser. So I actually made one already. I modeled it up, but like a dummy, it has no top. So now what I've done is I've cut out a bunch of other pieces, and we are going to go in and glue these up and get the rest of these drawers put together. All right, let's get to building. They're not fitting exactly because I actually made them a little bit too big, so I need to sand it down just a hair. So we moved to the disc sander just because it's way faster. Now let's knock the rest of these out. We've got all of these knocked out, and you can see as we're putting them in that they actually are flush to the back. That's because I'm gonna have a face frame. So this already has the face frame on, so I'm gonna go back and get these other pieces cut. Then we're gonna paint the whole thing white and then put a veneer on the front of these guys. Also did a rocking chair using the same kind of process to be able to do the little slots and grooves to get everything connected together. This will probably just be painted white, so this one won't take very long to finish up. So we're still working on getting this dollhouse modified. This will be a future video because we added a new roof and we're gonna be doing some flooring. There's still some paint to go, but we actually have the furniture done, so we're gonna put it inside so we kind of get an idea of what it looks like. Got a nice table, chairs, and we've got the dresser, as well as this is just one of the chairs without any of the paint or anything on it. A rocking chair, might as well have a sense of scale. So here's Buzz Lightyear eating with Forky, and you got Jesse just chilling. So you may not be needing to make miniature furniture for a dollhouse, but the overall process of designing furniture in a 3D modeling program, getting all of the profiles, exporting it out, and whether you're gonna cut it on a CNC or laser. For me, this has been really fun because I get to design a bunch of different furniture really quick, and then have something physical that we can look at. So I'm gonna have these models available for you guys at a link right down below. And so we didn't get super deep into the process of actually modeling this stuff in Fusion 360. I did a full tutorial for that with an end table we did recently. You can check that out right there, and I'll see you there in just 1 second. Until next time, go make or break something in your shop. See you guys. Jesse's dead. Oh, she just fell down the stairs.